The monumental stadium was alive that night. The stands were packed with Argentina's passionate fans, shouting, singing, and clapping in unison. Their voices echoed through the night, filling the air with an energy that made the stadium tremble. They were pushing their team forward, urging them to victory. Down on the field, the players ran, fought, and battled for every inch. And in the middle of it all was Lionel Messi. Dressed in Argentina's blue and white jersey, he carried more than just the weight of the game. He carried the hopes of an entire nation. Every touch of the ball felt like magic. Every pass was perfect. He controlled the game like a master, moving through defenders as if they weren't even there. The ball seemed to stick to his feet as if it was tied to him by an invisible string. The fans gasped with every dribble. They held their breath every time he got close to the goal. The monumental stadium pulsed with excitement. But then something changed. In the middle of a fast play, Messi lifted his head to scan the field. That's when he saw her. A face in the crowd. A face that made his heart skip a beat. His body froze for a split second, though the game continued around him. Time slowed. The roaring of the stadium faded into the background. Messi blinked, trying to clear his vision. Was he imagining things? No, she was still there. She sat in the stands just a few rows above the team's bench. Her brown hair was tied back. Her skin was dark, glowing under the stadium lights. And her eyes, those eyes were staring right at him. There was something in her expression. Something Messi couldn't quite understand. Pride. Sadness. A hidden emotion that sent a shiver down his spine. His heart pounded harder. Who was she? Why did her presence shake him so much? The game continued, but Messi kept looking back, searching for her face in the crowd. Every time the ball stopped, his eyes drifted toward the stands. And she was still there, watching him. His stomach twisted with an unfamiliar feeling. He knew this woman. He was sure of it. But it had been so long. From the sideline, Simeone, his coach, was yelling at him. Focus, Leo. Messi barely heard him. His body kept moving, his feet controlling the ball, but his mind was elsewhere. Then the referee's whistle blew. Halftime. Messi usually jogged straight to the locker room during halftime, but not this time. He turned toward the stands, searching for her face one more time. His heart pounded. But she was gone. A cold wave washed over him. Who was she? Why did she appear only to disappear? Messi hurried toward one of the stadium's security guards, his breathing still heavy from the game. I need a favor, he said quickly. The guard nodded. Of course, Leo. What's wrong? Messi pointed toward the section where she had been sitting. There was a woman sitting there, a few rows above the bench. Did you see her? The guard frowned. A woman? There were a lot of women around, boss. Messi ran a hand over his face, trying to calm himself. I know, but she was different. She had brown hair tied back, dark skin. And her eyes, she looked at me in a way I can't explain. The guard scratched his head. You want me to check if she's still here? Messi nodded. The guard walked away and Messi stood there, frozen for a few moments. Something inside him told him this wasn't just a coincidence. That woman came for a reason. He had to find out why. Inside the locker room, he tried to focus. His coach was giving instructions. His teammates were discussing the game. But Messi could only think about her face. Why did she seem so familiar? Minutes later, the security guard returned. I didn't see anyone like that, Leo. Looks like she left. Messi felt a tightness in his chest. Why would she come only to disappear? Almost without thinking, he picked up his phone. No messages. Just as he was about to put it away, a notification appeared. A known number. You recognized me, didn't you? I need to talk to you. I'll be waiting at gate 3 after the match. Messi felt his stomach tighten. It was her. The second half of the game began, but now Messi just wanted it to end. Minutes passed slowly. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, the whistle blew. The game was over. His teammates ran to celebrate. Reporters looked for him. Fans cheered. But Messi didn't stop. He was already walking toward gate 3. The area was nearly empty. Only a few stadium staff members stood around, chatting. And then he saw her. She stood near a pillar, arms crossed, as if she was gathering the courage to speak. Messi's heart pounded. Now he was sure. He knew her. This night was about to change everything. As he stepped closer, she lifted her gaze. For a moment, the entire world went silent. The noise of the stadium, the people around them, everything disappeared. There were only the two of them. Messi swallowed hard. Now that he was close, he could see her face clearly. It was a face from his past. A face he hadn't seen in years. She gave him a small, nervous smile. Her eyes shone with tears. You came, she whispered, her voice shaking. Messi took a deep breath. I had to, he said softly. But, how are you here? After all this time? She looked away for a moment as if searching for the right words. Because I needed to see you, Leo. I had to tell you something. Messi's chest tightened. Tell me what? She hesitated. Her lips trembled. After a long silence, she finally whispered, I don't have much time left. Messi frowned, confused. What do you mean? She took a deep breath, her voice barely audible. I'm sick, Leo. Messi felt like the ground had disappeared beneath him. His throat went dry. His mind raced. This woman, who had once been a big part of his life, was standing in front of him, telling him she was leaving. His heart ached. The silence between them lasted only a few seconds. But to Messi it felt like forever. Messi's heart was beating fast. What should he say at a moment like this? The woman saw the shock on his face and gave a small smile. I know this is a lot, she said softly. I didn't want to just show up like this. But I had to see you. Messi ran his hand down his face, trying to understand everything. He still couldn't believe she was here after all these years. Why didn't you come to find me before? He asked, his voice full of emotion. She let out a deep sigh, like she was letting go of something heavy. It wasn't the right time, she said. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. Messi shook his head. Don't say that. Her eyes filled with tears. I always watched you. I always knew what you were doing. I saw you win, I saw you become the player I always knew you could be. And I was always proud of you. She took a deep breath and looked at him with so much emotion in her eyes. But now I need you to know that I'm still here. Messi felt his chest tighten. He had so many questions. What happened to you? His voice was soft but full of worry. The woman looked unsure. She was struggling to speak. Then she took a small step forward. I'll tell you everything, Leo, she said. But first, can I have a hug? Messi didn't wait. He opened his arms and hugged her tight. At that moment, everything came back to him, his childhood, hard times, her kind words. And then he remembered. The smell of her perfume was the same as before. It took him back in time. Now the pieces in his mind started to fit together. Messi pulled back a little and looked into her eyes. His heart was beating fast. My God, he whispered. Professor? The woman smiled, her eyes filled with tears. Yes, Leo. It's me. Messi's chest felt even tighter. His professor. She was the woman who believed in him when he was just a skinny kid with a big dream. She was the one who helped him with school when all he could think about was football. She wasn't just a teacher. She was a mentor, a friend, a person who had helped him so much. And now, after all these years, she is here to tell him she was sick. Messi shook his head, trying not to cry. I can't believe it, he said. Why didn't you reach out to me? She held her hands together, her voice shaky. Because I didn't want to bother you. Tears filled her eyes again. I always supported you from far away. But now, I just wanted to see you one last time. Messi felt a lump in his throat. What do you have? The professor hesitated. Then she took a deep breath. Cancer. Messi felt like the world stopped. She closed her eyes and whispered, It's very bad. Messi felt like someone had punched him. His legs felt weak. He wanted to speak, but no words came out. The room was silent. Everything felt far away. Then Messi found his voice. You're not alone, Professor. I won't let you go through this alone. Her eyes filled with tears again. Leo, I didn't come to ask for anything. I just wanted to see you. But Messi shook his head. It doesn't matter. You helped me when I was a kid. Now it's my turn. He held her hands tight. I'm going to help you. She tried to say no, but Messi didn't let her. I'll take care of this, Prof. You never gave up on me, and now I won't give up on you. Messi understood everything now. This wasn't just a meeting. This was about gratitude. He remembered everything, the hard times, her kindness, her belief in him. He wouldn't have made it without her. Messi took a deep breath. You need treatment. The professor gave a weak smile and shook her head. Leo, the doctors say it's too late. Treatment costs too much, and I don't want to be a problem for anyone. Messi frowned. Don't say that. You were never a problem. You were my light. Her eyes filled with tears again. I just wanted you to know I was always watching. I was always proud of you. I never needed anything else. But Messi didn't accept that. Look at me, he said, squeezing her hands. Do you think I would be here without you? You believed in me first. Now it's my turn to believe in you. She tried not to cry. Leo, I don't know what to say. Messi held her hands even tighter. You don't have to say anything. Just promise me you'll fight. She took a deep breath. If you're with me, I promise. Messi smiled even though his throat hurt. Then it settled. I'll take care of everything. That night Messi made a promise, and he would keep it. As soon as he left his professor, he had one thing on his mind. He needed to act fast. Without waiting, he picked up his phone and called his agent and his medical team. I need you to find the best cancer doctors. Here in Argentina or anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. The person on the phone was quiet for a few seconds. They were surprised by the urgency in Messi's voice. Leo, what's going on? Messi took a deep breath before speaking. I found someone very special from my past, and she needs help. I'm going to help her. From that moment, everything started happening quickly. The best doctors were called. The best hospitals were ready. In just 2 days, Messi had a plan to make sure his teacher got the best care. But Messi didn't want to stop there. He wanted to do much more. Paying for her hospital bills was just the beginning. This teacher had spent her whole life helping students, teaching them and making them believe in their dreams. She had done so much for him, and now Messi wanted to give something back. And what Messi did next would touch the hearts of all the people in Argentina. Messi had a big idea. He wanted to build a school in her name. A special place where kids who didn't have much could learn, play sports, and dream of a better future. Just like his teacher had helped him long ago, he wanted this school to help many other kids. Messi and his team kept everything a secret. His teacher didn't know anything. Meanwhile, she was in the hospital, getting the best treatment. She was still sick, but now she had hope. Then Messi decided it was time to tell her about the surprise. One day he visited her in the hospital. He held an envelope in his hands and sat beside her bed. I have something to show you, he said with a smile. She took the envelope with shaky hands and slowly opened it. Inside she found some papers. At the top it said, Professor Emma Institute, a school for learning in sports. She read it again and again, trying to understand what it meant. Her eyes filled with tears. Leo, what is this? She asked, her voice soft and full of emotion. Messi smiled warmly. This is your legacy, Prof. You changed my life, and now we will change the lives of many children, together. Her hands covered her mouth in shock. This is real? More real than ever. And I want you to be there on the opening day. Tears streamed down her face. She was happy, surprised, and deeply touched. Messi knew he had made the right decision. But there was still one more surprise waiting for her. And what would happen on the opening day would make all of Argentina feel something special. Months passed and Messi kept his promise. With the best doctors helping her, his teacher slowly started to feel better. She still had challenges, but now she was not alone. At the same time, the new school was being built quickly. When people heard about Messi's plan, they wanted to help. Big companies, famous players, and many kind people gave money and support. But Messi didn't want this to be just a school. He wanted it to be a place where kids could learn, play, and dream, just like his teacher had always taught him. Finally, the big day arrived. The opening ceremony was held at Monumental Stadium, the most famous football stadium in Argentina. Messi made sure his teacher was there, sitting in the front row. But she had no idea that she was the special guest. She sat among other football players, reporters, and important people, not knowing what was about to happen. Then Messi stepped onto the stage. He held the microphone and took a deep breath. Today, he began, I want to talk about someone who changed my life. His teacher listened carefully, still not understanding. Someone who believed in me when no one else did. Messi paused and looked directly at her. This person taught me that talent is not enough. What truly matters is hard work, discipline, and a kind heart. The entire stadium became quiet. His teacher frowned a little, confused. Then Messi smiled and said, Professor Emma, this school has your name because you did not just change my life. You changed the lives of every student you ever taught. Her eyes widened in shock. Behind Messi, the big screen in the stadium lit up. The name, Professor Emma Institute, appeared in huge letters. The crowd cheered loudly. His teacher covered her face with her hands, crying happy tears. Messi walked over to her and hugged her tightly. Thank you, my boy, she whispered through her tears. Messi held her hands and looked into her eyes. No, Prof, thank you. All of Argentina saw that moment. The video of Messi and his teacher went viral. People everywhere felt touched by the story. In the months that followed, the school started helping children. It gave them the chance to learn and play sports just like Messi had dreamed. And Professor Emma, now feeling much better, became part of the project. She started teaching again, inspiring new generations of kids. For Messi, this was his greatest achievement. Winning trophies and medals was amazing. But helping the person who had always believed in him? That was even greater. The Professor Emma Institute was not just a school. It was a message that said, always remember the people who helped you. And when you can, help others too. That day, as Messi watched his teacher smile, surrounded by children who now had a brighter future, he knew this was the best victory of his life. Because the true success of a champion is not just what they win, it's what they leave behind for others. And this legacy would last forever. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world, and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.